Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Safe Sidki with International Hairlines Academy, and we're back with another episode of Graduate Success Series. Today, I'm honored to have with me Hernando. Hernando is the owner of PinPoint SMP here in South Florida. He's not too far away from the academy. We actually train a lot of people that come in from different states, from even internationally, but we also have a lot of local artists that have been trained here, and it's always great to see them succeed and do well, even in our own backyards. So without further ado, Hernando, I know you've been a barber for 12 years before this, and you got into SMP about a year ago, actually in June, and like in the middle of the pandemic, basically as soon as we reopened. I know it sounds weird for many people, but here in Florida we were only shut down for a couple of months, and so this was the first training after reopening after the lockdown. So Hernando's been doing it for a little over a year now, and he's kicking butt. His work is really good. You should check him out at PinPoint SMP. So without further ado, once again, I want to welcome Hernando. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking me. Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure, by the way.
Awesome. It's great to see one of our own, do really well, and you're making a name for yourself on social media and locally, and I had a couple of consults where they're like, oh, I'm meeting with you, I'm meeting with him, so that's awesome to see. So tell me, before we get started, like how did you hear about SMP in the first place, and what really got you wanting to get into this field?
So how I found out about SMP, it's interesting. I found out about it on YouTube. I always do research on YouTube, and I came across a video of a guy. He was drawing a hairline on someone, and it caught my attention because I'm a barber. So I wanted to know what was it gonna be about, So I kind of fast forward the video a little bit, and he started to create little impressions on someone's head. And from there on, I kind of had a feeling that it was a tattoo, but I still wanted to see the outcome results of it. So I actually fast forward the video all the way to the end, and I wasn't very surprised by the results. It was kind of like, this is what it's supposed to look like, So at that point, since, I was a little interested, so I just decided to research scalp micropigmentation on YouTube.
Gotcha.
And I just wanted to kind of match other people's work to see what it could really look like,
Yeah.
And I was interested, so I did more research on it, and then I started to think like, wow, I could maybe do this better, I didn't have any idea what SMP was at the time. I just been a full-time barber, but the hairline, the drawing, it caught my attention right away.
Yeah.
So I started doing, I started looking to see what kind of material is being used for the procedure. And what I did, I went on Amazon and I started purchasing pretty much everything that was needed to practice from home. I started practicing on melons. I came across several videos, people practicing on melons. I ended up spending at least 2 months practicing on melons before I can be, just, following little patterns here and there, trying to replicate other people's work online.
So without any formal training, you were just practicing by yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, because I was so interested. I'm like, I'm gonna try, because I cut hair and I see follicles every day. I do shaves. I'm like, I could pull this off, So I kind of I have the eye of an artist already in detail. So I kind of just started playing around with it, and I got really into it. And 2 months later, I was like, you know what? Maybe this is something that I can take more serious. I want to make it a career. I want to add it to my barber career. So that's when I started doing research on like academies and stuff like that. And then I was gonna actually fly out of state to get trained. But what I did, I started looking for nearby SMP training.
Hmm.
And lucky me, I actually ran into International Hairlines. You're only 30 minutes away from my area.
Yeah.
So I went on your website and I wanted to see your work, you know, your portfolio. And also I looked up your name and the work was amazing. I looked up your name and your name was everywhere on the media. Like you've been in many different interviews. You had traveled the world, and the work, it's really, really neat. So I was like, this is the guy I want to train with, you know? And that's when I kind of reached out to you one time and I told you that I was a barber and I was very interested in attending the course, and I just had to wait for training. And that's when everything started from there on. I came in and started taking the course with you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is actually interesting because, you know, a lot of people, not that they ask, but I know a lot of people that go on YouTube and attempt it. You know, they especially barbers. This is a different subject. We're going a little off subject here, but I do feel there are a lot of I like to call them mavericks. You know, they try to learn this by themselves, and you started the process just to see if it's something that interests you and to see something that you can take it further. Did you ever get the thought that, you know what, I'm going to start practicing on human skin?
You know, I wanted to practice on melons, you know, for as long as I could before I could consider taking training and really try to figure out if this is something that was for me. Because even working on melons, I would realize that you need a lot of patience, you know, to do this kind of work, and it's not really for everyone. But I always caught myself thinking about it, so I was always sticking with it. You know, I always wanted to practice, and I started to improve the melon work, and I was like, okay, this is when I want to take training. I didn't want to take the chance of taking any customer, any client, because again, I didn't know the proper depth. I didn't know how, you know, how much ink to use. I didn't know color theory, any of that. So it was time for me to take the course, you know. At the moment, I realized this is time, you know.
Right. And this was like in the middle of the pandemic, so I'm assuming you had some time on your hand to practice, you know, on the melons.
Yeah, you know, it just fell in my hands. It was a gift, honestly. You know, I never went out of my way looking, you know, into a different career or try to do something different. I really thought I was going to be a barber, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
And it fell on my lap, and I took off from there, you know.
Yeah. So how does this compare to barbering?
I would say the only thing would be more like hairlines and follicles, being able to work and create that follicle impression. It reminds me of kind of fading and, with the clipper itself and just visualizing, what the outcome of it should be, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of barbers that enter the SMP world, and it makes perfect sense. But
Yes.
for you personally, like, how does it compare in terms of the actual work itself? Which one do you enjoy doing more?
I don't want to say I'm losing passion for cutting hair, but SMP has sucked the life out of me. You know, I'm now I am fully dedicated to that, even on my own time. If I'm not practicing or if I'm not looking, if I'm not looking for clients, I'm just always thinking about it. You know, it's always in my mind. But other than that.
And that seems to happen quite a bit for those barbers that, sometimes a lot of barbers think, this is going to be my side hustle. And it ends up being that, SMP takes over their life, and then they'll do a little bit of barbering on the side, Am I right in that?
Yes, absolutely. In my mind, I'm thinking, sometimes I think okay, when this does happen, it becomes a full-time job. What am I going to do with the barber career? I'm thinking I might lose some clients because I might raise my prices and maybe do, set a day out of the week to cut some hair, and those clients that might want to stay, they might stay, but the ones that are not, they're just going to move on. But my main focus right now is to try to grow in the industry, in the SMP industry, actually.
Right. For those viewers who are thinking about getting SMP or getting into SMP or learning, you know, us in our little SMP circle, we're very passionate about what we do. We obviously enjoy it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here talking about it, right? Um, but obviously, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and there's a lot of hard work and a lot of patience, like you mentioned, that goes in, and there's a huge learning curve. Like, nobody finishes training and becomes, an expert all of a sudden. It takes time to really master that craft, and even then, I don't think you can really master it completely, because even a veteran like myself, I'm still learning with every client. Now, that being said, do you have any particular challenges that still to this day you find with certain clients when they come in? Do you have any particular stories, for example, of a difficult case, or you can even talk about the type of cases that you love doing and versus cases that you don't love doing? Because I've got my own for sure.
I actually I don't have any negative, any bad stories, but I do have a very happy emotional story. Actually, I worked on did a procedure on a client. Just on his first session, actually, I was working on him, and he said he didn't want to look at the mirror during the procedure. He wanted me to complete the work, and he wanted to look at it at the end. Yeah. So I was like, okay, sure, I'm gonna give my best, regardless. So after we were complete, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, I think I took, he was like, he looks at the mirror and his face said it all right away. It was just kind of like, wow, he said, he got up from the chair actually, and he ran twice across the room, and he's like, I couldn't believe it. He was a Norwood 7. For those who don't know, it's more like the horseshoe above, top, completely bald.
Norwood 7 is when you can't lose any more hair, basically.
Right? That's the big job right there. So he comes back to me, he says, man, I thank you so much. He's like, God bless your hands, this right here, it's priceless. I was like, wow. I told him, this is the kind of customers that I want to deal with on a daily basis. It was an amazing feeling, it gave me chills and everything. Yeah. And at that point, I just knew that it's not about the money. It's about that client's reaction. Knowing that he was bald a few hours ago, and just those instant results, it changes them completely, But that was very exciting. That was a happy feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and you touching about, it's not about the money. There are a lot of people that get into this business because they see how lucrative it can be, and there is quite a bit of money to be made, obviously, because there's a lot of bald people out there, and the hair loss industry is multiple, I don't know the exact number, but in the billions, right? So there's a lot of money to be made, but you're one of those guys that I felt during class. It is more about the satisfaction you get from transforming somebody's life for the better, and then the money and all that, it becomes a byproduct. You know what I mean? Like you actually love doing what you do, and you work on your craft, and you meet interesting people, sometimes not so interesting people, but those transformations is the business, and the money just comes along with it. Am I right about that?
That's correct. That's correct.
So you being in South Florida like I am, it's a pretty competitive market. What challenges are you finding, for those who are thinking about going into the business? Like, what marketing challenges do you find, or what do you do to get clients? Is it all social media? Do you change it up? What do you do?
Yeah, I do a lot of social media promotions. I have a kid that I actually paid to move from intersection to intersection. He holds about a big sign that is about 4 feet to 4 feet wide, advertising.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, all through Broward, I have them move around on the weekends and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
But
Old school
yeah,
hustle, baby.
yeah, I'm doing, whatever it takes. So
Whatever it
other
takes.
than that, being a barber, the rest of it has been word of mouth.
Yep.
It's kind of, it's good that clients already trust me as a barber.
Yep.
So for me to, present my work, and they see my portfolio, it kind of speaks for itself after that.
Yep.
But in the beginning was kind of hard because nobody really trusts the procedure, especially when you have no portfolio,
Right.
and they see in other people's work, and there's so much bad work around here in Florida. So
Yeah.
I only had the melons to show, to be honest, in the beginning. There was
Yeah.
nothing else for me to show, but this is what I could do, and I took the course, so
Yeah.
let's just give it a shot. And of course, in the beginning, you don't really charge no one because you're
Yeah.
just trying to grow that portfolio.
Right.
But other than that,
Yeah.
yeah, everything is going well. Everything's going well, thank God.
Yeah. And you touch on something interesting, especially here in South Florida. People there's more awareness here about SMP than in other places. Unfortunately, though, like even my own friends are like, "Oh, I just saw a guy with SMP, 2 days ago at the supermarket or whatever." And this happens quite a bit. And if you're able to notice it from that far away in the grocery store, then the work is not good. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad work here. Do you come across those? Do you get a lot of repair work?
Yes, I actually I haven't done any repair work, but I'm open to put my hands on it.
You got to take my repair course, man.
I definitely do. I'm interested. I noticed SMP on other people, like you said, when it doesn't look natural, and sometimes the density, the amount, it just doesn't look like hair. Everything looks super flat. There's no texture to it,
Yeah.
and it. And in that moment, whenever that happens, I actually approach these people, and I let them know, what's wrong with their procedure and where'd you get it done? How long ago did you get it done? And most of these people tell me that, oh yeah, it was a beginner, a friend of mine, that worked on me with, and they also admit, like, they did it too defined, the hairline, and I try to let them know, look, take my card, look at my portfolio. I can fix that, I could definitely soften the hairline a little bit, he just, they focus too much on the hairline sometimes that it doesn't give it like any natural look to it.
Yeah.
So, and then sometimes they're not consistent with their pattern, and people they're just creating little dots and they're not replicating hair follicles, you know what I mean? So at the end, it looks like a dark, patch on top of the head. It's
Like a helmet. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
There's a couple of those blue helmet factories down here. I joke with the other guys that, oh, here comes another one from the blue helmet factory. But yeah, I mean, you can honestly, you can learn how to do this really well, or you can learn how to do it badly, because there are teachers, trainers that don't produce good work. And if you don't produce good work, how are you going to teach somebody, right? And
absolutely.
If you don't have the experience, because every case is a new type of case, right? Like no two scalps are the same, and you're constantly learning from your previous client. So, what do you say to those who learn or self-learn, even worse, and then turn around and want to teach somebody else and take their money?
Yeah, a lot of those people they don't even have a portfolio, they just think, either if they did take the course or if they didn't, they feel like they could just do whatever, just create little impressions on someone's head and then really not making it look real at all. And they're really trying to take the advantage of that to teach others. And a lot of people are taking courses that are not, they're not professionals yet. Obviously the work doesn't show, it doesn't speak for itself, but it just doesn't make any sense, because it's wrong. That's the reason why this industry is not growing. People just, they think that they got it in their hands, but they just want to milk the market. They just want to take advantage of that and teach others without having the full experience. It just, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of wrong.
It's unfortunate, and a lot of us in the SMP business, like, we get very frustrated with that, and rightly so. It is frustrating, but just like every other industry, especially in new industry, there's always going to be bad apples, and you just gotta. When I was like 3 years ago, for example, I'm like 6 years into it now. Like 3 years ago, I remember going through a phase where I almost wanted to quit. Like, I literally said, you know what, there's too much bad work, too many fly by night operations, guys trying to invent stuff and messing people's heads up. And but then I realized, it's a small industry, or it was growing. It's still growing, but it was pretty small back then. And there's always going to be bad apples. You just, all you got to do is, you can't get too frustrated about it. You just got to put your head down, do what you do best, try to make every client, the next client, your best client, improve. And that's all you can do. Everything else is going to fall into place after that. You can't really get too frustrated about it like I did a few years ago. I was like angry, but you can't take it personally.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So what advice do you have to somebody who may be thinking about taking a class and getting into it, or they just recently took a class and they need some guidance or advice?
I would say, if you're planning on taking this course, really ask yourself if you have the patience to do it. Not everybody does.
So very good.
And really ask yourself if you are passionate for it as well, because once you're in it, all it takes is just staying focused, it's staying focused. But the best advice I could give somebody really is just be consistent, and just don't give up. If there's something that you want to do, just consistently practice. Even if you got to do it day and night, 2 or 3 hours at night. That's what I was doing. At the end of the day, like, all you want to do is build that portfolio. You want to get as many models as you can. Don't worry about charging them. The money's gonna come eventually. At the end, you're gonna realize the work is gonna show the results. It's gonna speak for itself, and then that's when you're gonna find out, okay, now it's time for me to put a price on it. But other than that, follow your instincts. Follow your heart. And just have the discipline, and just stick with it. Eventually it'll come naturally.
Yeah.
And that's a
great
good way to put it.
That's great advice. Yeah. The patience part is huge. If you're not a patient person, if you want to cut corners, if you want to get rich quick, save your money and don't get trained, honestly, because this is one of these things. It's more of a long-term game than a short-term quick fix. So with that being said, man, I really appreciate you being here. Why don't you let everybody know where to find you, social media, website, etc., and we can conclude this interview.
Yeah, you can actually reach out to me directly to my IG at PinPoint SMP, or you can go directly to my website, also at pinpointscalp.com, or also my telephone number is 954-882-0715. I'll be the one to answer the phone always. But yeah, that's all. That's most of my information.
All right. So if you're in Broward County, Florida.
Yes, absolutely. Broward County. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I'm the guy to give you the best results, to be honest. Compared to all the providers around here, customer service, A1, personal image, A1 as well. And other than that, undetectable results, that's what I'm here for, compared to other providers in my local area.
Yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. Your results really do speak for themselves, and I'm proud to be your trainer, and I'm really happy to see you go on and succeed, even if you're in my backyard.
Yeah. I actually had a plan, to I might take that undo course. I really want to help other people, like bring back, their bad procedures and be able to repair them and fix them as well. I really enjoy that, watching you guys over there doing your thing also. But that's one thing that I also have planned. I want to be able to fix work.
That's awesome. Yeah. We have obviously the undo removal, but I also have a repair course. It's an advanced course for people who already do SMP, and it's mostly about camouflaging and blending bad work that doesn't need removal. But then obviously undo is when work does need removal before repairing it.
Right. If it's still bad, I agree.
Yeah, and it's the most interesting part about this is you as an artist being able to recognize when you can fix something and it will still look good, or if that fix is just going to be temporary and it's going to become worse in the long run, and in those cases that's when removal is necessary.
100%.
Yep. So once again, man, I know you're a busy man, so I'm gonna let you go. PinPoint SMP, Hernando Paz, thanks for your time, and don't be a stranger.
No, absolutely not. Thank you so much, Safe, for having me on here. I really appreciate this. Once again, it's a pleasure. Okay, anytime.
Pleasure is mine. All right, take care.
Take care. Enjoy.